Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Bali in Indonesia. I have you zoomed out just so you could see the scope of the area that we're talking about. Indonesia is a very large archipelago, a big island chain, the biggest island chain in the world. And Bali is right here in between the very large island of Java and this island here. This is Lombok. Bali is right here. You could see within the Bali Sea, which is a tiny area of the Java Sea, just to the north there. Bali is part of the Lesser Sunda Islands down here. You can see the Greater Sunda Islands, it says, are up there. And it is a very mountainous island. It's a very volcanic island, very active volcanically. There are many big volcanoes on here. The one right here is Mount Batur, but the one that's over here, like about here, is the largest one on the island, and actually in all of Indonesia, I believe. It's Mount Agung, and it is very, very active. The most recent eruption was 2019, but to get a little bit into history, it had a massive eruption in 1963 that displaced many people, and many lost their lives as well in that event. But eruptions began again starting in 2017 and just kept continuously popping off every now and then for the next couple of years. And it has the potential to really truly erupt one day, but hopefully not anytime soon. Bali is not just this one big island here. There are smaller islands that are over here. I probably should be zoomed in for this part. Let me zoom you guys in. Boom. Zoom you in. There's Bali. Right here. So there are many smaller islands that are actually kind of hard to see. All these words are in the way. But this big one here is Nusa Penida. There are smaller ones around it called Nusa Lembongan and Nusa Seningan. If I mispronounce anything, just let me know down in the comments. I don't mind corrections on pronunciations at all. Balinese can be a little tricky. It's a bit of a mouthful. It's almost kind of like you're talking with marbles in your mouth sometimes. But it's a beautiful language, in my opinion. Let's see. The capital city is Denpasar. We're going to talk about Singaraja a little bit up here. This was the former capital city. We're also going to talk about Ubud. You can see this town right here, a lot more inland from the coasts. It probably goes without saying that these coasts are absolutely gorgeous beaches with beautiful beach resorts all around the coast here, and a couple, I think, on the islands out here, but it's mostly very natural out there and a little too rocky for gorgeous resorts. But I believe there's some there as well. Ubud is considered the cultural hub of Bali, and nearby is Bali's UNESCO site. So let me grab my tablet, turn that on for you guys, and zoom back out, I suppose, so that you guys can see the UNESCO site that's here in Bali. Come on, zoom out. Thank you. It is the cultural landscape of Bali province. The Subak system as a manifestation of the Trihita Karana philosophy. Someone's walking above me, my apologies. The cultural landscape of Bali consists of 5 rice terraces and their water temples that cover 19,500 hectares. The temples are the focus of a cooperative water management system of canals and weirs known as Subak that dates back to the 9th century. Included in the landscape is the 18th century royal water temple of Pura Taman Ayun, the largest and most impressive architectural edifice of its type on the island. The Subak reflects the philosophical concept of Trihita Karana, which brings together the realms of the spirit, the human world, and nature. This philosophy was born of the cultural exchange between Bali and India over the past 2,000 years and has shaped the landscape of Bali. The Subak system of democratic and egalitarian farming practices has enabled the Balinese to become the most prolific rice growers in the archipelago, despite the challenge of supporting a dense population. I hope you don't mind my family stomping above my head at apparently midnight tonight. Let me know if it's an issue, and I'll cut out any future stompings. I'm living in a basement currently while we move, so adjusting. But let's look at some pictures of this. So I was a little confused at first about what made an irrigation system so important to the culture other than it grows the rice. These beautiful rice paddies here, all terraced and lovely. Of course, we'll take a look at them. But essentially, the water is considered a holy aspect of their daily ritual life, which makes sense because it gives life and food and all those wonderful things that farms can provide, but also flows water through the temples and is just a manifestation of the life that the island is giving back to the people. So it makes sense. It reminds me a bit of the Aflaj system in Oman, that they utilize gravity to bring water down, and they've managed to separate the canal system so that everyone gets an equal amount of water. Even if you have a tiny paddy or a giant paddy, everyone gets the amount of water that they need, flowing through all these little trails of canals throughout the countryside here. And it's really quite beautiful. We'll of course take a look at it on Google Earth. But let me zoom you back in, and let's talk about the history of Bali. Okay, I think whoever that was went back to bed. But now that it's quiet, there's also a fish tank directly above me. Can you hear it? Like, is my microphone picking up the little bubbles? Because it's actually kind of relaxing. I don't know. Anyway, I figured it adds to the ambiance because I kind of have a summertime theme going on my channel this week, starting with the Balearic Islands, Ibiza, Majorca, etc. Now we're going to Bali. We're going to another beach resort tomorrow. So I figured it's totally fine. But let's get into the history of this island because it's quite interesting. There's quite a bit of evidence of early habitation of this island around 2000 BCE. But we really don't have any physical evidence of anything happening on this island until about like the 7th century, when India made contact with the people here and started to trade and bring their culture, and that changed everything on the island, because not only did it bring a lot of Hindu food and practices and culture, it brought Hinduism to the island, which is still the most prominent religion today. It just completely dominates the culture here, especially during the reign of the Majapahit Empire, which was an empire based on Java, its neighbor over here. They ruled the island between 1343 and 1478, and this was considered Bali's golden age, where Hindu culture flourished. Like it said, the Subak system was in place by the 9th century. So there's never really been an issue with food shortages here. It's always been quite plentiful because the irrigation system allows for that quite remarkably. The Majapahit Empire would eventually collapse. Like I said, 1478 was the end of its reign. Many of the royal family moved to Bali after their empire came apart. So really a lot of their culture came with them and really only increased the Hindu influence in daily life, even though technically this island was under control of a Muslim empire called Mataram. It still very much retained its Hindu beliefs. The first European contact happened in 1512, and it was, of course, the Portuguese. They were all over exploring all parts of the world at this time. But the main European power in the island would, of course, be the Dutch, who had quite an iron grip on what's now Indonesia, known as the Dutch East Indies. They first arrived in 1597, but their influence really started to creep into the island around 1882, where they went around making treaties with the various princes on the islands until they had eventually completely annexed the whole island by 1906. And there are some very sad stories coming out of the island during this time. Stories that are not friendly for YouTube, where whole villages actually, made some decisions that they would rather not be on this planet than be controlled by the Dutch. So they went to that extreme, if you know what I'm saying. I can't really talk about that on YouTube, but it happened more than once. It happened quite a few times, and it's very, very sad. Some European photographers and filmmakers visited the island in the late 1910s, and that spread interest in Bali around the world, and that's when the tourism industry really began in the 1920s, when it was becoming easier and easier to travel the world and have time to go on vacation, have the luxury to do that. It's been a vacation spot for over 100 years. That, of course, stopped during World War II. Japan invaded the island in 1942, and they were here until the island was liberated by the British in 1945. And of course, the Japanese did not treat the people of this island very kindly whatsoever. Other things I can't talk about on YouTube, right? You can use your imagination. This made the Balinese quite upset at the Dutch because they felt abandoned. They were grossly mistreated by the Japanese, and when the island was handed back over to the Dutch, they expected changes, and there were none. So the War of Independence began almost right away. Really started to ramp up by 1946. It ended, I think it was December 31st, 1949. The United Nations made the Netherlands end the war and allow this huge archipelago its independence. But there were battles here during that time. And of course, in 1950, Bali became part of the new nation of Indonesia. The island has pretty much just been a tourist hotspot, people coming to enjoy beaches and enjoy the beautiful culture here on the island. But that was interrupted quite a few times. Like I mentioned before, the eruption of 1963 was quite devastating, and it took a while for Bali to get its tourism crowd back. And then in 2002, an event happened, which I also can't talk about on YouTube, but you can imagine a very, very bad organization set off a bomb at a nightclub, killing 200 people and injuring many more, and really, truly devastating the tourism industry here. There was a copycat attack in 2005 as well. So that really kind of put the spotlight on Bali on the world stage. And thankfully, nothing like that has happened since, and it's very, very peaceful on the island nowadays. It's safe for the volcanic eruptions that I mentioned before in the 2010s, and the COVID-19 outbreak definitely halting the entire tourism industry here, which is so important to the island, but it's pretty much back in full swing nowadays. Just for funsies, I was looking up hotel prices, and something must be going on with the Indonesian rupiah, because a lot of resorts I was seeing was going for $20, $30, $18, $10 a night, with like very, very fancy ones going for maybe like 100 to 200. And of course, it would go higher and higher the more luxurious you get. But that's outrageously cheap for an island paradise. Sadly, the flights are very expensive. Otherwise, I think I'd be there right now. So it's very affordable to stay here in Bali. So it may just be a plan of mine. I know everyone dreams about going to Bali. But now more than ever, I think I'm ready to go. So if you just saw a very quick cut to the tablet section, it's because the stomping overhead got even louder and ruined my little segue into the tablet section. So here we are in Bali on Google Earth. Let's get into the tablet. So normally the little slideshow that they give you at each place is not great because it's either just the same like area over and over in just different angles, or it's just pictures of things that I already plan on showing you in the map portion here. But not so here, so we can look at the slideshow here. So here we can see gorgeous lush jungle here in this village with the canal running through. Maybe an old temple here. This picture reminds me of the Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland. It has that vibe to it. You can see this swing here. I'll probably look at a couple more examples of these. But this trend of the big swings going out above the valley started here in Bali. And this slideshow also has lots of pictures of the resorts, which we're not going to look at in the map portion, so you can see what some of them look like here. Absolutely luxurious, right? Some neat temple areas here. Big water temple. A beautiful ocean here on their big deck. And yeah, oh, this statue's really cool. That's an awesome statue. But you can get a really good sense of Bali in this slideshow. I like it. You can see all of the tropical resort things and all of the cultural things. This is beautiful. Not a bad slideshow. There's that statue again. I love it. Why don't I show you an even cooler statue? Let's start there. We're going to head down to this section of the island where we have, you can see the Garuda Wisnu Kensana Cultural Park. I hope I'm saying that right. But we're going to see a very big, big statue here. It's right here, I think. Sadly, it's not in 3D. But this is one of the largest statues in the world. Boom. I think I checked Wikipedia. I think it's at number 18 in world's largest statues. There's lots of other statues as well. There's a big Garuda. But it's bigger than the Statue of Liberty. It's absolutely gigantic. And fairly recent. I think they built this in 2016, 17, 18, around there. There's lots of other little cultural things to see here, which is wonderful. It's like a little one-stop shop. It's not really a shop. Your one-stop museum for all of the interesting cultural stories. See, here's a good diagram. Here's the Statue of Liberty. I think this is the statue in Kyiv, right? And here's the statue. Does it say? 2018. It was built in 2018. Look at it. It's gigantic. And that must be its eggs there. Interesting. But isn't that neat? It's a neat little aspect of the southern part of the island. Here you can see, if I zoom out, Denpasar, the big capital city. Over here is Kuta, which is more of the like party scene, the nightclub scene, and that's where you can see the memorial to the victims of the bombing, which is a really beautiful memorial here. Of course, the names of all the victims here, and really beautiful lights all around it. Gorgeous little memorial there, isn't it? And let's see, what else do I need to show you over here before we get to Ooh, but let's look at the mountains. So here you can see sticking out like a big old pimple that's ready to burst. It's Mount Agung. So here is the big one. Big hulking volcano. It's very active. There's the steps above my head. That's okay. Look at all the steam coming out. It is very active indeed. Beautiful rice field there. Look at this. Doesn't look like Mount Fuji in the distance. It's a really gorgeous mountain. Looks like it's steaming a bit there. It might just be clouds. But to be honest, I think my favorite is Mount Batur. I think it's more scenic. Apparently you can climb all the way to the top of this one, along with this little monkey here. The monkey also climbed to the very top. The monkey's probably like, what's the big deal? This is just my backyard. But it also has this beautiful lake associated with it, and a very famous temple. This is probably the most visited temple in Bali. It's the most scenic. This gorgeous lakeside watery temple here. The gate, statues in the water. Isn't that beautiful? It's very, very lovely. I realize I've said very, very a lot in my videos. I really try to tone it down. You can see how badly I'm doing at that. But this is so lovely. How cool is that? Oh, look at this cool little cruise you can take out on the lake. That's fun. There's the temple there, and there's the mountain. So, so beautiful. Oh, and you can look at little kayaks out. That's fun. There's lots to do. Of course, everywhere you go in Bali has some kind of tourist something or other. Even here in the rice fields, these are the ones that we read about on UNESCO. You can see they have lots of swings here. This is where we have, these iconic swings here. Your perfect little Instagram moment out here on the cliffside. Isn't that nice? Hold on. Why did my computer screen just come on? Okay, go away. Thank you. But we can see the rice fields out here, which to me they look like if the hobbits in the Shire decided to grow rice, is what they look like to me. I think this is the best slideshow. Oh yeah, see, look at this. How absolutely scenic and beautiful. How gorgeous. And they have lots of walking tours throughout the rice fields, because like I said, everywhere you go, there's something for tourists, no matter where you go in Bali. Look at this. How is this real? This is absolutely stunning. Wow. Is it like almost like a fantasy world? It's like I said, it's like if they decided to grow rice at the Shire. That's exactly what it looks like to me. I could look at it all day. Isn't it gorgeous? There's a big old swing going out. So neat. I don't think he's having that much fun on this swing. Gorgeous. Just like, I've seen lots of pictures of terraced rice farms, but nothing that's like whimsical, they're always just, oh, that's pretty. This is like a magic place, right? And maybe it's because of that irrigation system so closely tied with their faith. Maybe it has something to do with that. I know somewhere over here is the temple that they mentioned on UNESCO, but I can't remember its name. But there's temples all throughout. Yeah, that's not it. Although that is pretty. No, that's not it either, I don't think. It's somewhere around here. Let's see. I thought it was more to the south. I thought it was down here. It's not this one? No, I don't think so. Uh-huh. Oh, before that, we gotta look at the Monkey Forest Sanctuary. Actually, I'd rather look at that than the temple. This is very interesting. So yes, a monkey temple sanctuary where the little macaque or macaque monkeys roam free and wild. And there's lots of stories online of how they will absolutely grab your stuff if you don't have your backpack sealed all the way, or if you have a water bottle or phone in your hand, they will snatch it up. So you have to be careful of these guys. They're very, very tricky. Look at the pretty koi pond there. With all the moss around. Isn't that lovely? Beautiful fountains. We saw some others in the slideshow here. But this is another big tourist hotspot. Because everyone wants to come see the monkeys. Even though, like, you really shouldn't get too close to them because they do bite. And they will steal your stuff. See, there's more swings here, more rice fields. It's more of the same that we saw, though. Let's see. And of course, there's waterfalls out here, like no one's business. Which one should we click on? How about this one? Sumampan Waterfall. And of course, they're all just gorgeous little magical. Look at the rock there. Wow. They're all gorgeous and magical waterfalls, aren't they, Ganesha? And they're all over the place, because like I said, this island is very, very mountainous. Look at that face. Looks like a happy Buddha. So rivers are flowing all throughout. One of the reasons that water temple I showed you is so important is that, let's look at the elephant launch real quick while I explain it. So, I love my elephants. Is that the traditional belief is that all of the streams flow from that lake by the volcano. So that's why the temple there is so important, because you know how important the water is here. That crystal clear fresh water that grows all of their bright green rice. Lots of Ganeshas around. Lots of waterfalls. It's just a beautiful place. Over here we can see some more nature. West Bali National Park. Very close to Java. See the mountains there. Come on, tablet. Here we go. Some more temples. Beaches. Big ships to carry you around the island. It's very pretty. If we head over here, this is Penida Island, and there's lots of very natural sights here. Even Teletubby Hill, which isn't that exciting of a slideshow. It looks, well, I'll show you, I guess. It looks like Teletubby Hills, especially with those clouds and that blue sky, isn't it? I wonder if they named it. I mean, surely they named it after Teletubbies came out, right? There's no way. Let's look at this one, Panorama Points. Oh, wow, amazing. Look at that view. So stunning, and you have your meal out there. Fantastic. I think this is one of the more famous spots. Yeah, because you have these beautiful rock formations. Kind of reminds me of when we were just at Baja California Sur looking at Cabo. Reminds me of that. Very, very famous cliff sides here. And of course, big, beautiful beaches. Look at that. Those waves, too. The color of that water is amazing. Absolutely stunning nature here. And of course, there's many other sites I could be showing you. Lots of other waterfalls and natural sites and more temples. But this would be a 40-minute video, and I'm keeping it moving. So why don't we, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I absolutely had to show you. But like all of these are beautiful, so they're all beautiful. Let's end it here. Lucky Lucky Waterfall sounds nice. Oh my goodness, look how tall it is. So let's end it here. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if the creaking overhead is too much, and I'll edit. I already edited out most of it, you guys. But I will edit out even more if it really does bother you. Try my best. So like I said, we're going to another beachy resorty place. Nothing like this, because nothing's quite on the beachy resort level of Bali, right? But we are going to another beach resort town in Turkey. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. Look at this owl. How sweet. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a good night. Good night.